Welcome, everybody, to the ALF Operations Podcast, where we talk compliance, operation, and whatever else is going on in the assisted living world. Presented by Alfboss.
All right, so I'm glad to have Miss Regina Manalili. Well, I guess we could start first off. Tell me a little bit about your facility and how it came to be.
Well, of course, I am one of the starters of Lakeshore Assisted Living Facility in Claremont. We are located in Lake County. It's a small moms and pops, when we started, we are actually just a 6-bed facility. And so it's your typical moms and pops. And I think what most of us started with is a small facility, and we've stayed with this one. We've started this way back 2014 is when we started. I believe so. Yeah. We started processing this one all the way back 2013. And then we got licensed 2014 of September. Yeah.
That's good. Awesome. So the follow-up question to all that is, what made you go in that direction? What made you want to open a facility?
There are actually 2 reasons behind that one. The first one is, and this is me being brutally honest, in my family, there's a lot of us who are working in the health industry. And our original business really is engineering. But for some reason, nobody took engineering, everybody took nursing and all that. So at first, like, what business should we start, to make use of all these family members to work? And then way back in the day, when I first migrated in the States, I started as a caregiver. So I said, you know what? Let's do assisted living facility. But the second one, that's actually what pushed us to do it, is just finding the right care for my own grandmother. And with us, with culturally wise, we take care of our own. It's a thing. But with work, with lifestyle here in America, you have to work. So we were trying to find a place, where to put grandma in, but just couldn't find the right one. And then I said, when we were like brainstorming, and as I've said, my first reason was, when we were thinking of business, is helping family as well. So might as well hit, this bird with one stone. So it was a perfect opportunity, and I guess having that passion and drive to find the right care made everything happen.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now, what was the hardest part, when you first decided to open up the facility?
You know what? It's funny you ask that, because I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people that I've heard, they always say that the hardest part is starting the business. Like, the business part, getting licensed, getting your house ready. I think with me, it's the hardest part when I started, I would say when we already started, is actually running the business itself. Because when we started the business, I've said it wasn't that long when we started. When we decided to have an ALF, I took my core, take the test, passed it immediately, started with the process. It was a smooth transition. I never had a hump where, like, okay, ACA gave us a hard time, fire department. I never had that. Did you do all that on your own to start? Yeah. We did. It's I went to the website, I got ACA, followed all the instructions, like, okay, you need to do this is the first step, get your zoning, get the fire department, get the building, get all that, and get licensed, right? I never had an issue with that one. But my biggest issue was starting the business itself. Because, once you become the administrator, you're not just a caregiver. I think that was the most difficult, grasp that I had to put my head on, that, like, yes, you care for people. Mm-hmm. But this is also a business, and there's so much regulation you have to put your head on. That was the most one. It's like dividing yourself from being the caregiver and the administrator at the same time. It's very difficult.
It is, for sure.
Because, when you're a mom and pop business, you pretty much do everything. I don't have an HR department. I don't have, people who clean for me or cook for me. I don't have that. It's pretty much me, myself, and I, and my residents. So that was the hardest part, because you provide the care, and the care is there. Because if the ALF, this business that we do, I believe it's something. It's for you if you like it. If you don't, you don't. But
I mean,
go ahead.
this business definitely takes a special kind of person.
Oh yeah.
Because you wear so many hats on a daily basis. You do so many different jobs.
Exactly.
It's definitely not just one thing. There's no day that's the same. Every day is different. Something new pops up,
Yeah, there's no boring day.
No boring day. I wish there were, but there's not. So take me back to when you got your first resident, the experience. How was mentally, when we're all excited, we got our new resident, and did it go as you thought it would go, or
That's another funny story. So the first resident we had, it was like, okay, so you market, then it finally comes. She arrives. I will never forget this lady. She arrives. And then
we never forget that first resident. And
I was
mine was like 30 years ago, and you never forget.
I'm like, okay, so she's here. And it's a big house just for one lady. And here we are. I called my aunt, I called my cousin, and I'm like, can you help me? I'm not sure. Like, am I doing it right? And like, are you comfortable? What do you want to eat? Oh, are you like, I was like over pampering this lady. And there's like 3 of us in the house, over pampering. Like, okay, are you hungry? Are you feeling comfortable? Do you want me to change your blanket? Do you want me to change the sheet? Is there anything I can get for you? I don't like this crazy woman. And she was like, lady, back off. I don't like, and she's this 98-year-old lady. She looks so cute and everything. But what she does, the first word she opened, like, lady, back off. Leave me alone. I don't want you here. Get out. And I'm like, oh, okay. But you're good though. You're good. Like, yeah, leave me alone. I'll call you when I need you. I'm like, okay. And you like slowly you exit the room.
I remember we got our first resident. My parents opened the facility. It was a long time ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. And you're all excited, and you think you picture like grandma, they're gonna move in, they're gonna be nice, it's gonna be gonna do the best you can, they're gonna be so happy. Well, we got this one guy, and he was just stubborn and a complainer. Like nothing could be right. And my poor mom, she's a great cook, but she was the one doing the kitchen, handling the cooking and everything. So she brings him something, and he like, what is this? I don't eat this. I forgot what it was. And everything she would bring him, like he would just say, this is disgusting. He wouldn't even taste it. Just, I don't like the looks of it. It's disgusting. My poor mom was like in tears, and she's like freaking out. Like, what have we got ourselves into? She'd give him oatmeal for breakfast. He'd say he can't chew it. It's too hard. My poor mom, I remember, like she was just in tears. Like she's trying her best. And, that first resident, some experiences are good. Some others, it's like, but the months that lead up to getting your first resident, you got this dream, you open up the facility, you finally get approved by ACA, you do marketing, you get your first resident. You always remember that first resident because it's like
you will never forget. It's like your baby's first step. You will never.
Exactly.
Those are moments where it pretty much build you to who you are right now because of those experiences. Some are funny, some are traumatic, I would say.
Exactly.
But you look back and you look at it because, that day when you first experienced that, you feel like this is the end of the world. Like I'm doing everything wrong. But then, what? For me now, it's like 6-7 years looking back. I'm like, that's just funny.
Yeah.
You just look at it, just laugh at it.
I always say to people, we have so many stories we can write a book. Funny, scary, whatever it is, you name it, man.
Pretty much.
People just don't understand, and experience is what builds. Over time, you get the experience, and now things can happen that years ago you would have freaked out. Now it's like, oh, we know how to deal with this. This is how it goes.
Oh yeah. We've got a lot of stories of that one. It freaks you out, but it's.
So I mean, experience in this industry, I think, is definitely key. That's the best learning tool.
It is.
I always say you can take the core training, you can speak with others, but until you actually experience different things. That's where you learn,
That's when you learn.
Even with ACA, each surveyor could be different. One likes this, one says this is a no. You learn every time they come in your building, I like to say. And it's the same thing with interacting with residents. There's no day that something new doesn't happen. It's crazy.
Yeah. These are individual we're talking about.
Yeah.
And they're created, in their own lovely way. They teach you a lot. And every experience that comes to your door molds you. And that's what makes you stronger and wiser, I would say. But it's a continuous process.
Why do we fear ACA? What's your take on that? I mean, we do everything right. I mean, we do the best we can. I don't think anybody does anything on purpose to purposely break regulations. Nobody is putting, at least I hope so, putting residents in danger, serious, class 1, class 2s, things like that. The class 3s is usually paperwork, things like that. But, I suffer from it as well. They come in your building, all of a sudden your heart starts racing a little more. And, why do you think that is?
It's when you ask that, because the moment they say, hi, I'm from the ACA, I'm like, I couldn't even answer that question. There's just something in them that just drives you crazy. It's the fear of like, I do something wrong.
Fear of being judged, fear of being labeled, quote unquote, a bad person. Let's say
a bad person.
If they find stuff that's wrong, oh, I screwed up, I did wrong.
And you feel like you're a failure.
Yeah, we kind of beat ourselves up.
During my first, they come every 2 years, right? And then when they come, it's like, I know my residents are happy, but the moment they start looking at all your paperwork, okay, I'm being judged right now. I feel like I'm in front of the court. This is everything you did wrong. And then it's a burden to you, to be honest with you, because by the end of the day, for a fact you did everything, to take care, because it shows in your residents.
Correct.
You look at them, they're taken care of. But by the end of the day, once they start looking at every single thing, you are being judged. And I feel like no matter what I do, if they still see something wrong, I'm still a failure. That's we're not failures. We criticize. We don't like to be. The most frustrating part, I think, for everyone is we work our asses off. These regulations are written, on paper. We spoke about a typical day earlier, and that no day is the same. Operating a facility is not you follow a manual, what's written on it. We do the best we can, but a day in life doesn't operate in black and white, like on a page. So things happen, and something happened one day, you didn't fill out a form or something, or you forgot to put a check box.
Exactly. And you get cited for it. What makes our anxiety worse, I think, is when you say we're being judged, to me, now it's broadcasted, it's published on the ACA website. Okay. So anybody in the public that wants to look up your facility, they can go and see a report. And of course, it doesn't just say that you forgot to, let's say, there was an 1823 that missing a check in a box somewhere. Well, it's going to say that you failed to, in some long sentence, that you did this horrible thing, failed to properly make sure that the proper health care was rendered to whatever. So somebody reading that, and the public to me is like, what the heck is going on over there? And between me and you, we forgot the 1823 is not properly filled out.
Yes.
So that does add to our anxiety, because now it's gotten to be like a marketing tool to affect our business.
And you're right. And people look at that, and it's a public record, and that actually adds to your stress on that one, because the way it was written, the way it is written, they write it word by word, but
Correct.
No explanation to exactly what's going on the background, why it ended up to be that way.
It's a mess. I just, those reports really aggravate me, the way they're written. If somebody's reading them, it's like, wow, what the heck is.
During my first year, during my survey, the way they wrote my tag is like, so they look at the patient, there's dementia, there's issues. That's why they're there in the first place. And they said, and they wrote everything. ACA wrote like, oh, I interviewed resident A, and then she said that she is not allowed to go out, and they play baseball inside. Those were exact. It was like all the craziness was
Mhm.
written word by word exactly how my resident said it, and it's like you write that on.
This is the dementia with a resident with dementia.
Yeah, exactly. And you write that. Oh yeah, yeah. We're locked inside. Resident A claimed that they're locked inside this and that, and they're playing baseball inside and this.
Did anybody hit a home run?
I hope they did, but that it wasn't. I hope they wrote that one, but they did it. I wish it was more fun, but
I see your frustration. We see that a lot. They'll talk to a dementia resident and just roll with what the resident's saying without talking to the staff, or to the management, or that's that part just aggravates me. The complaint system in general to me aggravates me because anybody who's angry with you just picks up the phone and will waste a day of your time, if not more, with a bogus investigation over something because somebody was angry that either you fired an employee, a resident didn't give 30 days notice, and you kept part of the rent or whatever it is, just to get back at you.
Through the years, you'll always. I think it's a fact. You'll always get complained upon on. During my first few years, I take that to the heart, to the point I always get sick just because of getting stressed with those things. Because you do this because you care. Don't get me wrong. You take care of these people. These are not just a thing. It's a human being that you take care of. So when you have a complaint like that, you take that by heart. And then I had this conversation with Ak. I was like, let's come here. Somebody pick up the phone and complain about me. But when I call, because I have a complaint, you guys don't pay attention to me.
No.
And I feel like it's back in the day, I feel it's unfair. But now I feel like, you know what?
Yeah, I mean, you grow thicker skin with time. But I always explain to people, it's really a political thing, the way I see it, because whenever you're dealing with vulnerable populations, so elderly and children, those hot buttons are always going to sell newspapers. They're always going to get politician votes. Elderly are vulnerable, so if you pass more regulations, so we're never going to be, I think, less regulated or less scrutinized or anything like that, because that's the nature of the beast the business that we're in. So it's tough. I mean, I do see ways that ACA could improve their complaint system, how to file complaints, things like that. The one I hate the most is, nothing about a situation. All of a sudden, ACA comes in on a complaint. The resident called the complaint. Never came to talk to you about it. It could have been settled in 10 minutes. It could have been settled in the favor of the resident, but the resident just picks up the phone to make your day hell. There you go. You get hell for a day. I think we all remember our first visit from ACA on a complaint, inspection, relicense inspection. We all remember those, Now they come in, our heart still beats a little faster, but it's like, hey, as
time goes by, you're doing this, for years, experience comes in, but at the same time, my skin got thicker. Not because I don't care, because I need to give myself some grace.
Correct.
Because it will kill you. All this.
No, seriously. I mean, I have, at the beginning, I did burn out a couple of times, and I would, when it was getting time for relicensure, getting everything ready and just trying to go, dot every T and every I, I would burn out. I would have to take a vacation. I was.
It's mentally draining.
Mentally draining. It's like we torture ourselves, to put it in a way. We mentally torture ourselves worrying. And I think you talk about the skin getting thicker. Skin does get thicker, and I believe it's because it gets to a point where you say, we're not doing anything extremely wrong here.
Yeah.
Residents are happy, well taken care of. We're not abusing anybody. Yeah. We're not taking residents we're not supposed to. Yeah. We're doing all the things so we don't get a class 1 or class 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if you play with fire, you're going to get burned. That's if you got residents with wounds, stage 3 wounds in your facility. You got a resident that keeps falling every single day. Yeah. If you play with fire, you will get burned.
You'll get burned
eventually. But to get back to it, with the thick skin, a class 3, I can deal with it. That's paperwork. It is. I don't have I'm missing a certain inspection on file, or my plan is not up to date.
You forgot a certificate.
Or a certificate is missing. Things like that. Of course, we all want to be perfect. A lot of facilities I do see that they post perfect surveys, and I give them 100, kudos to that. But it all depends on the surveyor. They can find anything on any given day, because a lot of it is stuff that is judgment calls, I like to call it, based on their judgment and how they interpret the rule. They can cite.
And I have learned through the years as well, because like what you just said earlier, you get different ACA surveyor.
Correct.
They read and interpret the regulations. So, by the end of the day, I have learned not to question, not to like headbutt with them.
Yeah, no, I don't. At the
Never,
time,
don't ever do that. don't do this.
All right. So that's Regina's advice.
Yeah.
Everybody listening.
When ACA surveyor comes, because when I first started, I tend to do that. I would like go into an argument like, I feel like I just took my core. I know my regulations. So what are you talking about?
For individuals that don't know Regina, she's also the head of the Filipino mafia. So I would explain that part.
But no, that's just, my personality is that it has always been that. I feel like when I know my regs, I will headbutt with you. And that's a big no. I guess by the end of the day, there's still ACA. And it could bite you in the back. So it doesn't work to headbutt with them. Just give them whatever they need. Correct. Show them what they need. If you feel like it is unfair, they're tagging you about something, you know what? Because I could fight that after they put it anyway. And that's what I didn't know back in the day. I could actually fight that off. Why myself?
I recommend everybody develop a relationship with the ACA regional manager in your area. Once you get to know them, reach out to them once in a while for questions, etc. You can reach out to them once a surveyor came out and say, listen, this happened, the surveyor said this. I believe you can not headbutt with the regional manager, but they're more open to the regulations. And if you point them out to them, say, hey, but according to this regulation, what she said.
Exactly. And that's what I did, on my you learn through this, like
with time.
Questioning something is like, sir, can you explain to me exactly on this statute? So I literally showed it to him. Would you trying to explain it to me?
Exactly.
Came up with that one.
They love to say that they're there to educate us. Mm-hmm. So when you're interacting with the surveyor, I always do that and suggest you do that. If you have a disagreement or something, ask them to, you're just asking to be educated so for the future. That's a much nicer way to put it. And that works better. They'll point out, well, the regulation states, da-da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll catch them. I say, well, I already did that. And they're like, they'll think about it like, yeah, you're right. Okay. So they don't cite for that certain issue. You have to ask it nice. If you just say, you don't know what you're talking about, this is ridiculous, blah, 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 and you just lose your cool.
Once you started headbutting with them and you're targeting them and making them look, they don't know what they're doing, it only adds to their like, okay, I'm going to get more from you. But if you approach it that way, like, hey, can you explain it to me, sir? So that in the future, and they like that. You're 101% right. And I have done that through the years is develop that relationship with your local ACA office. When I have questions, you know what? Hey, I'll call my ACA like, hey, I read this. Did I understand it right? And you know what? They like that because they know you're exerting an effort to make things right and do it by regulation. So when they come to you, they already know you. Oh, that's Regina. Yeah. She asked me about this. You have that rapport already.
I always suggest that to build a relationship, try to build a little relationship with them like a person. At first they always come in with the guns drawn and they're mean and towards the end when they see you don't have anything crazy going on, they loosen up a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to talk about, kids. You have kids. I have kids. I like to build a rapport. So when they do come back, it's kind of like we kind of pick off we're buddies from the last time, and building a relationship also helps. The way
it does help. And you know what? Sometimes you will still get those
old school.
Your ACA people that come there that would like make your heart stop beating.
Yeah.
It's funny because after that survey, when they see you're not really doing anything crazy in your facility, they loosen up.
Yes.
Then I vividly remember this one because after that survey, when everything was said and done, but after the survey, it's like, you're actually doing a great job in here. And I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
thought you're upset with me. Oh,
Yeah. No.
I thought
Yeah.
this whole time you're here to like kill me or like target me, or they were like just like they're doing their job by the end of the day. And then after that, that's when I realized like, no, they're just doing their job. There's no point of like treating them like the bad person.
Eh,
And I remember one ACA surveyor said, Regina, we don't come here to scrutinize you guys. By the end of the day, every complaint, we have to give it, a grain of salt. No, it just really, because sometimes, unfortunately, it's a general thing. Some complaints are valid and some complaints are don't. So if we don't come and go here, then how would we know? So I said,
I mean, I would like for us to maybe get the opportunity first to address it before we have to scrutinize for a whole day. If it's something that's not life-threatening or injury to a resident, that we get a chance to maybe mediate with the resident, maybe
Yes.
fill out a form that we met with the resident and the resident signs it, and here's
we have those things. We have those meetings. We mediate before the problems actually occur. We try to fix it before it gets bigger. And actually, that's one advice I would give to other ALF. Always have that. Always document that. That, hey, missed this, didn't like the food. The only thing ACA would like to know is, what did you do? What did you do to solve the problem? So if you have that document, like, yes, ma'am, I had that complaint one time. But when they came, it was already solved, actually. So when they came, it was like, oh, then they went out. They're just like, bye.
awesome.
It's documented.
What advice would you give to somebody that wants to get into this business? Go ahead and talk about the stresses that they're going to face and things like that. It's part of the business that they have. Mentally, if you're not ready for it, you're not stable for it, it's going to burn you out, right?
It is. Well, I think, and this is not me just getting out of fiction, but it's out of reality. A lot of people who would come and approach me say, "Oh, Regina, you're doing well. You're doing well for yourself. You must be making a lot of money. And I want to get into that. I want to jump into that bandwagon." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, if you see, not everything you see is what it is. And that's when I started explaining, okay, you open up, this is what you have to face. I said, you take care of, a resident. You don't just take care of resident. You have the family to worry about. I said, you have staffing issues. Are you sure that, because once you open an ALF, it's not just a business, it's not an 8 to 5 job. It's a lifestyle. I said, so are you ready? And I said, you have kids. So how are you going to take care of your kids while doing this at the same time? So I throw a lot of stones out there. Like this is what it is. It's not just what you see on Facebook. What will you do? Are you ready to face a fact that you may not go home 5 days because you don't have a caregiver that would cover your shift? And I said, first 2 years, you have to invest this much. Residents don't just come to your door like, hey, you open, I want to go in. It's not like that. You have to build your reputation. You have to build your circle. And that's one thing I did wrong, because I thought, that's really what I thought, is they would just come into my door and get my bags filled. It doesn't work like that. You have to get out. Who's Regina? Who's Lakeshore Manor? Who are you? Why would we trust you to take care of my parents? So those are factors. And there's other people who actually started opening up a business, and they rely so much with placement agency. And I told them, like, no, placement agency help us. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against those. But don't rely your business to placement agency, because placement agency works with several, ALFs. Why would they choose you? So still you have to do all that legwork to prove yourself that you're actually there and it's a good option.
Because even placement agencies, you have to build a relationship with them, because they'll refer to their friends.
Yeah.
Facilities that they work for a long time. When you're the new kid on the block, placement agency is not just going to start sending you patients.
Oh, no, they won't. And
Yep.
that's what I'm saying is a lot of people who wants to start and have started have that wrong notion that, oh yeah, I know that placement agency. They will get my beds filled in a month. Nope, that's it. You have to do your legwork. You have to have, and I know it's hard to say it, but in my first 2 years, I had our investment money. We almost went to red because you're waiting to get your beds filled. Your expense is still the same. So I started sharing that to them. You may have one or two residents, but your expenses is still the same even if you have a 6 residents. So
Correct.
X amount of money to keep you afloat. I'm going to be honest. I almost thought of selling our ALF by second year. No, third year. I was like, this is not worth it. So
Yep.
are things I think that people who would like to get into this business is to realize that there is more to what you see. I suggest that they come actually talk to other administrator, get your foot into the door. Actually, that this is just not a business for you, it's a lifestyle. So you have to commit to that lifestyle change because there are times you may not be even able to spend Christmas or those holidays. You may miss your kids' baseball game. You have to do this because you are taking care of people.
We don't want to leave everybody with such a sour note, I'll say, I guess.
No.
It does get better,
It
but
does.
what we're saying is you have to put in the work for a few years at least.
Yep.
You have to feel it out, just like any business. If you open a restaurant or you open anything you open, you're gonna have to put sweat and tears into it, and it's gonna take time. You're gonna need money, 'cause like I said, it's not because you did anything wrong almost in the red. A lot of facilities go in the red and they have to reborrow money just to stay afloat, keep it going.
Yep.
When you're doing your first one. But let's say if you were to open another one, now you've got connections. It gets a little easier. You've got placement connections. You've got industry connections. So that first one is the hardest one to build.
It will always be. Yeah.
And the experience to learn and everything. So I just, to make it clear, it does get better.
It does.
You will still get anxiety when regulation agencies come in. That's part of the business. It's just, it is what it is. It's just like when you get pulled over by an officer for speeding or something, you kind of freak out. You're like, what the heck, how's this going to go? But it is what it is. It gets better. Just like Regina was saying, it takes a lot of time, hard work. Will you agree with me? It's not just writing down, a math problem on a piece of paper that, okay, I'm going to have 8 beds and they're going to pay me $4,000 each. I'm going to do most of the work, and then I'm going to hire maybe one caregiver, and we're going to, what's the math? 4,008. That's like $32,000 a month in profit. So I'm going to go buy that new Mercedes right now because I'm going to open this business next month, and it's going to be amazing.
Amazing money.
Yes. So it's not like that. We just want to make it clear. At least it's not for your first one. If some of you who are in the business listening to this, you'll probably go back in time and reflect on some of the memories we shared, that you do remember your first resident, and you do make mistakes, when you're starting up, but eventually it does get better and from experience.
You know what? And, we have talked about all the, I would say, the negative part of it, having the ALF or maybe the stress of.
I like to call it the realness.
Yeah. But like what you said, I don't want our listeners to have this bad notation about, I don't want to do that. No. We just want to emphasize that it does take hard work. But you know what? I believe I said this the first time. If this is something you like, this is something you will like. For me, I could take care of 100 elderlies and have a satisfaction and joy with it, but I cannot take care of children, so there's fulfillment with it. Those moments where you get to see family, those grandmas you take care of, and they say thank you.
Yes.
You hear their first, oh, you know what, I love you like my daughter. Those are fulfillment.
Yes.
That's what keeps us going on. Those fun moments where they knock on your office like, hey, what are you up to? Who are you dating? Oh, I just asked, those things. That's where I find my joy.
Yes.
You make the money, but it's the fulfillment of taking care of people is there. So if you're that type of person, hey, we'll support you.
See, my gratitude, like for the examples you gave, is when like a resident like that they've been living on their own and they've just been declining like crazy and they're depressed, they're not feeling well, and then they come to the facility and they start flourishing, and the family comes to you and like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Yes.
We thought she was, gonna just be off. She was always depressed, and now it's like night and day. Mom is doing so well, and
Oh,
thank you
wow.
so much. You will get those. You will get those thank yous. That, and when you do get them, it's like, wow, thank you.
I'm making a difference.
Somebody appreciates what we're doing. That they see all the hard work that goes into it, or just that family member that'll reason with you, and they're like, I understand what you guys deal with every day. I was taking care of Mom, and I know.
Yes.
That makes you feel good also.
It does. It really does. It makes so much difference because this job that we do is not for the faint of heart. And call me, but those simple things are the one that makes you actually happy. So those gratitude, those positive stories that you made a difference to somebody's life, that is something I will take to my grave, and that sticks to your brain. And that's a fulfillment in your heart that you have done, that you made a difference.
Awesome. Well, Regina, it's been a pleasure. Let me give you a few minutes, give a shout out to your facility. And
Yes. Okay. So as I've said, we are Lakeshore Manor Assisted Living Facility. We are a 6-bed. We are located in the city of Claremont, Lake County. So check us out, lakeshoremanor.org, or you can email us in regina@lakeshoremanor.org.
awesome. That was a lot of fun. And hopefully we'll get together in the future again soon.
Soon.
Take care, honey.